Okay, the first week of the Premier League is done and dusted. Match week 1 ending the 11th of August. We're going to take a quick look at the results and a quick one-liner against each team. We're then going to have a quick look at the league table, early days obviously, week 1. And then we'll go into the good, the bad and the ugly. So we're going to have a look at some stats and we're going to look at player and team and look at the best and worst performers across the Premier League. Now, before we start, if this is the first time you've visited this channel, you want to keep up to date with videos like this on the Premier League, the top Premier League teams. We do match analysis, we do player profiles, we cover the transfer window and have a look at all the ins and outs through the transfer window, and obviously have a look at the results and how the Premier League shapes up week by week. Just subscribe to the channel below, click the red button. Click the bell notification and you'll be kept up to date of all videos as they're uploaded. Now onto the first week. I'll put up the results for the first week and we'll just run through them. Obviously the first one, Leicester 0, Wolves 0, the Midlands derby. Leicester, lots of possession, lots of shots, but sadly only one on target. Wolves probably feel a little bit disappointed. They got a goal disallowed through the VAR. It was handball, and you could argue it either way, but technically it was the right decision. Probably a fair result on that one, 0-0. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 1. Arsenal had lots of new signings this season. Dani Ceballos, they had Pepe. And both we saw both of them came on as subs late on in the match. Did enough to win that. Newcastle huffed and puffed, but probably just didn't quite have the quality in front of goal to try and nab a draw there. Next one up, Man United 4, Chelsea 0. The game probably wasn't as it suggested. Obviously a really good start for Man United. Debut goal for Daniel James. Harry Maguire was solid in defence. Wan-Bissaka also had a good game, very busy, and when we come to the stats we'll have a look at him. Chelsea, obviously not as bad as the score suggests. They had missed chances, a little bit of naivety defending, but the scoreline doesn't really sort of tie up with their performance, to be fair. On Saturday then, the game's on Saturday, West Ham 0, Man City 5. West Ham, what can I say other than oh dear. Man City started as they finished last season. They're going to be the one to beat again this year, I feel. Next match is Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 1. Probably Bournemouth a little disappointed there not to have grabbed 3 points at home against the new Premiership side Sheffield United. They should be winning that game. I think Sheffield United would be pleased with the draw away from home for first match for them. Next game up, Burnley 3, Southampton 0. Strange game really. All the goals came in the second half. Dykes must have given them a rollicking, I reckon, at half time. The scoreline again didn't really reflect the game, I don't feel, for Southampton. Next game up, Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0. Crystal Palace, obviously all the transfer talk about Zaha leaving and he didn't. He was on the subs bench, came on into the second half. Nothing really too much happening there. Everton had the chance to win it, but 0-0 there. Watford 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 3. This is a game that Watford would have hoped to win at home. Had a good season last year. Brighton just missed the drop last year, didn't win any of the last 9 matches, Brighton, and they come and nab it 3-0. They've got a new manager, I think his name's Graham Potter, and to be fair, they deserve the win against Watford. And then the last game on Saturday, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Aston Villa 1. Lots of possession for Spurs, didn't quite click for sort of 60-70 minutes, and then the new signing Ndombele got the goal, great shot, and they went on to win it. 2 great goals from Harry Kane. Aston Villa got their goal in the first half and really sat back and defended deep. And to be fair, they defended well, and they look like they'll be okay in the Premiership this year. And then the Friday night game, the first game of week 1 was Liverpool 4, Norwich City 1. And I think it's fair to say that Liverpool were too strong. And Norwich did, to be fair, looked a little bit lightweight, and they were too open, just far too open really in the defence. So we'll put up the Premier League tables, we'll put up the top 10 first. Obviously early days after one match, but the 2 Manchester clubs up there, 1 and 2, Man City, Man United, also Brighton and Hove Albion in number 4. It'd be interesting to see how long they stay up in that top part of the Premiership. And then if we go down to the bottom half of the Premiership, again, like I say, early days, we'll have a look at that. You can see 2 big London clubs there at the bottom, Chelsea and West Ham United. And, you know, it's there's some familiar names you probably will expect to see right throughout the season in the bottom half there. So that's a result from match week 1. And the tables. Now, what I'm going to do each week is we're going to look at the good, the bad and the ugly. We're going to look at the stats from the Premier League and pick out some of the best and worst players on an individual basis. And we're also going to have a look at some of the best and worst teams on a stat basis on the week by week, basically. So we'll start off. The first one is going to be best attacker. Now, this is purely going to be done on goals and assists. And we'll give 3 points for a goal scored, 1 point for an assist, and see who comes up with the most points for that week's matches. Now, the leader after the first week, no surprise on this one, Raheem Sterling, Man City, 3 goals, no assists, but those 3 goals with 3 points each is 9 points. So he was the clear leader. There was 3 notable names that came in close behind. On 6 points. So it's Ashley Barnes of Burnley, he grabbed 2 goals. Harry Kane of Tottenham grabbed 2 goals, and Marcus Rashford of Man United again 2 goals. So all those 3 players on 6 points, but Raheem Sterling the leader on that one. On to the most aggressive attacker next. Now, how I'm going to do the most aggressive attacker is just purely on the number of shots. We're not going to look too much at the quality or how many goals came from them, but just purely who was most aggressive this week in the matches. Now, Harry Kane gets the winner for this as most aggressive attacker. 8 shots he did. He was quiet for quite a bit of the game, but in the end he got 8 shots. Only 2 of those on target, believe it or not, but those 2 on target got him 2 goals, so you can't complain at that terrific performance there. There was lots of people, lots of attackers on 4 shots. Just a few notable mentions that Raheem Sterling, again, 4 shots, 4 on target. Obviously, he grabbed his hat-trick, so very accurate there. Ashley Barnes is worth a mention at Burnley. 4 shots again for him, 3 of those on target. And Pedro, obviously, he grabbed 2 goals there. And Pedro of Chelsea, 4 shots, 3 on target. Probably any other week he'd have grabbed himself a goal or 2. And that's why I don't expect Chelsea to continue as they did in that first game. So that's most aggressive attacker. Next, we're going to cover team possession, and we're going to have a look at the best and the worst, the good and the ugly. And Tottenham and Leicester are the 2 teams that came out top on possession, both 70% each, playing their respective teams. Obviously, Aston Villa and Wolves. As it goes by, they're obviously 30% each on those, so big difference in possession there. Tottenham obviously got the win 3-1. Leicester only grabbed a draw there. I think that was 0-0, wasn't it? So that's team possession. Next, we're going to look at the good, the bad and the ugly on the team pass success. So who passed the ball the best? Who kept hold of the ball the best? And who was the worst? So the 2 best were, well, Tottenham were number 1 at 89%, terrific pass accuracy. Man City, as usual, they're always pretty strong in this department, 87%. And then the 2 worst, Burnley 55%, believe it or not, but grabbed a 3-0 win on that one. And Crystal Palace 59%, so pretty poor passing from Crystal Palace, and they only grabbed the draw, obviously, like we've seen. Next up is we're going to look at the player pass accuracy. So who was the best and worst player pass accuracy? And the best one in the league was Harry Winks of Tottenham, 96% pass accuracy, holding midfielder, but kept hold of the ball really well, just did the nice simple things very well for Tottenham. He was taken off in the second half because they needed to bring on a more attacking minded midfielder, Eriksen. Second best on the player pass accuracy was Emerson of Chelsea, 95%, so good tidy game from him. And then on to the two worst. First one, I normally wouldn't put the goalies in this department, but I had to put him in. Dean Henderson of Sheffield United, the goalie for Sheffield United. I don't think Pep Guardiola will be knocking on his door to see if he fancies coming to Man City. 25% pass accuracy from him, so pretty poor there. Distribution out from the back. Like I say, normally I wouldn't put a goal in. And Chris Wood was the other next worst, 33% pass accuracy. He's obviously Burnley. Then lastly, we're going to cover best defender. And on this, we're going to purely look at tackles, interceptions and clearances. So we're going to look stat-wise, who was the busiest, who was the most active defender, best defender in the Premiership. So came out on top was Fabian Schär of Newcastle. He had 5 tackles, 7 interceptions, 5 clearances, so 17 points in total, where he was the clear leader. Next one up was Aaron Wan-Bissaka, the new signing for Man United. Had a very busy game for them. I think he's going to be a superb signing for them this year. He did 6 tackles, 3 interceptions, 5 clearances, 14 points in total. So he was clear second place. And then we had about 3 players on 12 points. They were worth a mention. Wilfred Ndidi of Leicester, who isn't, I don't think he's actually a defender. We've got Willie Bolt from Wolves and Ben Godfrey from Norwich. So they were all pretty busy on the tackles, interceptions and clearances. So that's all the good, the bad and the ugly on the stats for match week 1, the best and the worst. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll try and do one of these each week. If you do like the channel, please give it a subscribe below, and a like, a thumbs up on the video would be great. Thanks once again for watching, and thanks for your support.